When a TV show runs for 15 years straight, you know the writers and creators must have tossed around tons of wild ideas that never made it to the screen. Supernatural is one of those shows that fans still talk about every single day, even though it wrapped up in 2020. For over a decade and a half, viewers followed the journey of Sam and Dean Winchester, played perfectly by Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles. These two brothers drove across America in their black '67 Chevy Impala, faced countless demons, hunted monsters, dealt with angels, and even fought against God himself. With all of that insanity, you might think nothing was left unexplored. But recently, the final showrunner of Supernatural, Andrew Dabb, revealed that there was actually one massive storyline idea that the team never pulled the trigger on, and it could have completely changed the show forever. In an interview for TV Guide magazine's Supernatural Afterlife E20th Anniversary Special, Andrew Dabb finally spoke about the big what if moment that he always considered but decided not to use. And this storyline wasn't just a little plot twist or a small shift. If it had happened, the entire direction of Supernatural would have been flipped upside down. According to Dabb, at one point the writers considered having Sam and Dean go completely public with the truth. Instead of quietly saving people and hunting things in the shadows, the Winchester brothers would have told the world that monsters are real. Imagine a PSA where Sam and Dean sit in front of the camera and say, "D, look, vampires, demons, werewolves, they're out there. We can't be everywhere at once, so if something strange happens in your town, it's a monster. Be ready." It sounds absolutely wild, right? Just picture the world of Supernatural if every single person suddenly knew what was lurking in the dark. The secrecy that was such a huge part of the show would be gone. Sam and Dean wouldn't just be hunters anymore. They'd be public figures, maybe even celebrities, with people either worshiping them, hating them, or begging them for help every single day. The show would no longer just be about two brothers on the road, but about a world forced to confront the existence of monsters head on. Dabb admitted that this idea always intrigued him, but he never went through with it. The reason, he was convinced it would blow up the show in a very odd way. He explained that while the concept sounds interesting in theory, it would have completely destroyed what made Supernatural work in the first place. The mystery, the small town horror vibe, and the idea of the Winchesters being lone hunters in a secret war against evil would have vanished. As he put it, suddenly, Sam and Dean are known worldwide, which I think sounds interesting in theory, but I actually think would have destroyed the show. It would not have been any good, which is one of the reasons we didn't do it. And honestly, he's probably right. As much fun as it is to imagine, a world where everyone knows about monsters might have been too much of a stretch for Supernatural. The show thrived because it had that perfect balance of horror, mystery, family drama, and humor. Sam and Dean weren't just heroes, they were secret protectors of a world that had no clue what was happening in the shadows. Taking away that secrecy might have broken the whole foundation. But at the same time, this reveal makes fans wonder, what if Supernatural had taken that risk and gone in a bold, new direction? Would it have ruined the show completely? Or could it have given us a whole new kind of storytelling that kept things fresh? Let's be real, after 15 seasons, Supernatural did repeat certain storylines a lot. How many times did Sam or Dean die and come back? How many times did someone get possessed, or a deal with a demon had to be broken? If the brothers had gone public, the show would have had no choice but to reinvent itself. It's not hard to imagine an alternate version of Supernatural where the world knows the truth. Governments might get involved, militaries could try to weaponize monsters, or even entire communities could rise up to hunt them. Sam and Dean could have been forced into leadership roles, training others and creating a worldwide hunter network. It might have felt like a mix between The Walking Dead and Supernatural. Of course, that would have been a totally different show, and maybe that's why Dabbs stayed away from it. Still, the idea isn't completely far-fetched. Other shows have tried similar things with mixed results. Take Prison Break, for example. Once the main characters actually broke out of prison, the show never really hit the same high again. Or look at Baywatch Nights, which tried to suddenly add supernatural elements to a lifeguard show and completely tanked. Changing what works too much is always a huge gamble. But then again, sometimes bold risks do pay off. Fans know that Supernatural survived because of the chemistry between Sam and Dean. No matter what crazy plot was happening, what kept people watching was the brothers' relationship, their banter, and the love they had for each other. If that had remained strong, maybe even a massive shift like revealing monsters to the world wouldn't have been enough to sink the show. In fact, some fans argue it could have been a way to extend the life of the series, keeping it exciting for longer by adding brand new layers of storytelling. Another interesting point is that Supernatural often asked fans to suspend disbelief in ways that didn't always make sense. How on earth did the government or the general public not notice all the strange stuff happening for 15 years? How did nobody figure out that countless mysterious deaths, possessions, and monster attacks weren't just random? At some point, it almost felt unrealistic that the world stayed clueless. Having Sam and Dean go public could have finally addressed that logical gap in the story. There's also the question of whether the Winchesters could have revealed the truth in a more limited way. Maybe instead of telling the whole world, they could have exposed everything to the government. Imagine a storyline where Sam and Dean work with secret agencies, or have to decide whether to trust authority figures who might exploit the truth. That could have added a ton of drama and opened new storylines without completely destroying the classic Supernatural vibe. What makes this reveal from Andrew Dabb so fascinating is that it shows just how many directions the writers could have gone. For years, fans debated how far the show should push its mythology. Some loved when it went big with angels, demons, and even God himself, while others preferred the early days when it was just about hunting urban legends and creepy monsters. The scrapped Sam and Dean go public idea almost feels like the ultimate example of that struggle. Go too big, and you risk losing the heart of the show. Keep things too small, and you risk repeating yourself. Now, with talks about Supernatural revivals and spin-offs always floating around, fans can't help but wonder if this storyline could ever actually happen. Maybe not in the original series, but what about a revival series or a future movie? Imagine picking up years later, after Sam and Dean's original story ended, and showing a world where someone finally reveals the truth about monsters. That could be a bold and exciting way to keep the franchise alive while respecting the original show. At the end of the day, Andrew Dabb is probably right that the original Supernatural would have been ruined if Sam and Dean had gone public during its original run. The core of the show was always about family, secrecy, and two brothers fighting an endless battle while the rest of the world had no idea. That was the magic formula that kept fans loyal for 15 years. But it's also fun to imagine the alternate universe where we got to see the Winchesters on TV, warning the public about monsters and becoming legendary figures around the globe. It's one of those storylines that fans will probably debate forever. Would it have been the beginning of the end? Or could it have given Supernatural a whole new life? Either way, this behind-the-scenes reveal proves one thing. Even after 15 seasons, there were still game-changing stories that never got told. And that's why Supernatural continues to be a show that fans just can't let go of.